Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Water Polo Wednesday with Wes and Clay. He's Wes.
He's Clay.
And this is the conference edition focusing on the MPSF. Much anticipated. The Big Four has remained the Big Four this year. Once again, snooze fest. No, but look, they're fantastic teams, strong programs, great coaches, great players. Like, who can be mad? And there has been a story within the MPSF all season. And we've seen a lot of movement and some big surprises. And there is certainly a story to tell and games to watch going into this conference championship.
Yeah, so our fifth of 5 conferences we break down. I want to thank Clayton, as this will be our last conference breakdown. Remember, tomorrow...
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Clay. Thanks for being here. Tomorrow we will live stream and probably do all the semifinals for all the conferences, though MPSF doesn't have a quarterfinal. They play D3 teams, which they count, but they have separate championships, if you will.
I don't know.
I don't know how. It's a technicality to ensure they continue to get a guaranteed bid to the NC2A. So they have D3 teams in their conference to make sure they have the volume of teams necessary to qualify for an automatic berth. So they have that. So 3 of these teams will be going to the NC2A tournament. It'll be very interesting. This is a very, very interesting year. In most years, like last year, it was pretty much decided that Stanford, USC...
Cal didn't have a great year.
No, Cal didn't have a good year. This year, however, it is decided that USC, UCLA are going. They're going. Those 2 teams are going.
Decided. No matter who wins the conference championship, UCLA and SC are in.
Yes. But as we know, the number 1 seed of the NC2A has a distinct advantage of playing a D2 team in their first game. And with all due respect to the D2 team, they don't have a chance at beating a USC or UCLA.
Hey, there's always a chance.
Yeah, there's a non-zero chance.
There we go.
But it's pretty close to 0. Okay? I still don't know why they're here and they're not in a D3. That's not for us to decide. So the number 1 seed is really important because it basically turns the NC2A from a 3-game weekend to a 2-game weekend. And that's a big deal. Right now, USC, UCLA are split 1-1, but USC has 2 losses to Cal. That's going to factor in a couple of ways. If USC can beat UCLA and or win the MPSF tournament, they will get the 1 seed. If UCLA finishes ahead of USC, they will get the 1 seed. So there's that. Will
USC get the 1 seed if UCLA loses to Cal?
Say that one more time.
Will USC get the number 1 seed
if UCLA loses to Cal?
Mm-hmm.
It will depend on if they would both beat Stanford and then Cal in the finals. If USC loses a game and UCLA loses a game, then they would play each other. So then that would be decided. Now, the winner of the MPSF tournament does not usually go on to win the NC2A tournament. I can't remember the last time they did. I think it's been a while. So this is really interesting. So USC, UCLA, this actually will mean something. Last year, it didn't mean anything for UCLA. They were the number 1 seed going in. They were the number 1 seed in the country. It didn't matter what they did. They won their first game versus... I don't remember who it was, but then they lost to USC in the final. They still got the number 1 overall seed because they had the best regular season, and they should. We've talked about
Stanford early on last season, and then just USC at the conference championship.
They lost to Stanford early on in regular season. They lost to USC in the conference championship. I think those were their only 2 losses last year because they lost to Stanford once and then USC once. I think they ended the year with 2 losses. USC has handed UCLA their only loss this year. First time in 5 years that USC has beaten UCLA in the regular season.
First time in 5 years.
Yeah.
USC's beaten UCLA.
I have to tell you, this USC team is very special. Very special. And if there was ever a year where USC would knock off UCLA with Ryder Dodd, I believe this is it. These guys are really good. And if you watch the game this last weekend, you know for sure just how good USC is. UCLA has done a nice job late at the end of games, earning exclusions in 5 meters to get penalty shots to effectively win games. I don't know if that's going to continue, but we'll see. Will teams adjust? Will the calls be different? I don't know. So this is big for both these teams because that number 1 overall seed. Now, will they taper? I don't know. I'm not in their trainings. Last year, I don't think UCLA tapered. I'm not sure if UCLA tapered. I don't know if
you theorize that because it didn't matter if they won or not. So why would they taper?
Why would you taper?
Save their taper for championships.
Right. No taper till NC2A, as they like to say. Yeah. So on the other side here, so UCLA takes on Cal, USC takes on Stanford. Now this is interesting. Cal has 2 wins versus USC. So they have beaten a team that is already qualified for the NC2As. Okay? Twice. That team also beat UCLA, which helps Cal's RPI. Stanford has only beaten Cal. So to this point, Stanford has not beaten an MPSF team that is qualified for the NC2As.
Those 2 teams being UCLA and USC.
For that matter, Stanford has yet to beat a team who's qualified for the NC2As. But they have beaten Cal twice. They are undefeated versus Cal. But Cal's 2 win against USC have to count for something. So this gets really spicy. Despite it does. I mean, this is crazy. We do not know what is going to happen here. But here's my gut. My gut is if Cal finishes ahead of Stanford here, they go. Okay? They go. And Stanford doesn't. Because in order for them to do that, they either have to beat UCLA or Stanford. It's worse if they beat Stanford for Stanford. Because then Cal would have 2 wins versus UCLA, 2 wins versus USC, 1 win versus Stanford. And that the most recent, you talk about recency bias, the most recent being the win. But Cal hasn't been able to beat Stanford this year. And so they're going to have to change their ways. Stanford has dominated them. It was 10-5 at one point last weekend. That is dominance. It's rare you see an MPSF game where a team is ahead 10-5 at any point in the game.
Yeah.
Utter dominance. So Cal's got to find it. They still look new. They still look like they're still figuring each other out. This weekend will prove it all. Cal has to win at least 1 game here. If they win the tournament, they're in. If Stanford wins the tournament, they're in. So this is going to be, it'll be a good tournament. It'll be a very good tournament. And excited to see what happens. It'll be at Stanford this year, as well as the NC2As will be at Stanford this year. So we'll break this down. We'll get a little deeper on tomorrow, Saturday. But this is going to be very interesting. The winner, the winner of NC2As we're looking at one of these 4 teams, but at least historically, since 1997. So, yeah.
And the matchup that Stanford has against USC's been tough for Stanford.
This is not a good one for Stanford.
But if they can get past SC somehow, they've played UCLA very well.
Yeah. They match up much better with UCLA. Because they're the same style.
It?
What's that?
It's a year of matchups, right? We've been talking about how everyone's moving ring around the rosy in terms of national rankings because Team A beats Team B beats Team C, and Team C beats Team A, except for across 12 teams. And it's really about who matches up with who. Cal matches up well with SC. And Stanford matches up well with Cal. Stanford matches up well against UCLA at times. They haven't pulled out as many wins, but they've been up going into that 4th quarter how many times?
Oh, why? They've been up either
3
at the start of the 4th quarter or in the 4th quarter with a couple minutes left. I think every time they've played them, both times.
Yeah.
2-3 times, yeah.
So they're right there. You have to believe that like they're capable of achieving a lead in the fourth. Obviously, just can they close it out? That's one
Yeah.
meaningful, but it's a small step. They haven't been like trailing in any of these
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
So
So
Stanford, I believe, again, if they can find a way, it's a bad matchup for them against SC, but if they can, them being able to win this conference championship, I think is possible. It's
yeah, if
certainly
they
more of
can,
a possibility than UCLA losing their first game.
yeah, it feels like if Stanford can get past SC, they've got a real shot at
Yeah.
winning this conference tournament. It also feels like if Cal can get past UCLA, and let's say I think that they have a real shot. This first game for both Stanford and Cal is this is the opposite of what you would want for both of these teams, because Cal matches up much better with USC. They beat them twice already. Stanford matches up much better
Right.
with UCLA. So
Right.
it's kind of they're both in a tough spot. So what we may see happen, we may see Cal Stanford play for basically an NC2A berth in the third place matchup. So they play these games out. And if I take a step back, one of these teams is going to end up with 3 wins against MPSF teams. That's it. And they'll get an NC2A berth with only 3 wins.
Yeah.
It harkens back to the start of the year when we talk about the at-large. Had San Jose State, for example, beaten Cal or Stanford, they'd be in the conversation for the at-large. Right? Like, let's say they'd beaten Cal, because that was a really close game. I got to do that game. That was a really close game, but they'd lost to Stanford. Now, all of a sudden, they're in the conversation for the at-large if Cal were to beat Stanford. If Long Beach had beaten Stanford, when, maybe they don't play in the MPSF invite and they play them on a one-off and they beat them, or they beat them in MPSF invite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they took them to overtime. They overcame a 4 or 5 goal deficit in the fourth quarter.
Did they play them close twice this year?
No, the second time they got smashed.
My bad.
Yep, that's all right. Corbin Stanley had 3 exclusions in the first quarter, so that was it. Not to call out Corbin, but I think he would even admit not his best game. But had they beaten Stanford, they would be in line for an at-large bid. And this is where regular season could have mattered for those teams. If they had scheduled in a way and were able to knock off a couple of these teams, or just one for that matter, it would have been very different. And I know, like, Fordham is considering not coming out just once, but coming out 2 or 3 times next fall.
Oh, wow.
So that they don't have to play such a brutal schedule of Long Beach, San Jose State, Cal, Stanford in 4 games, 5 days, basically. Like, that's tough. So they want to be able to give themselves a real shot to say, who are we right now? Not who are we right now after just getting, playing a sudden 7-period game versus Long Beach 2 days ago or whatever. Cal 2 days. Like, that's a tough schedule. So, it'll be very interesting. But again, like, 2 wins, if Stanford ends up with 3 wins in MPSF play, that's not a lot of wins. Okay. Now let me go. I want to share something with you. I did some research. And people are like, there's no way. People will say there's no way if Cal, just because Cal beats them once or finishes ahead, there's no way they should get in. Well, let me read this to you. Okay. So a few years ago, UCLA finished 4th in MPSF. They didn't have any wins against an MPSF team, but they did beat Pacific. So their head-to-head was they beat Pacific, because everybody's saying, well, Stanford beat Cal head-to-head. Okay. UCLA did beat Pacific. Okay. Pacific, however, had 3 wins versus teams in the MPSF that UCLA had lost to. Okay. I think it was a couple versus USC and maybe 1 versus Cal or Stanford or somewhere like this, right? The committee took Pacific. The teams that Pacific beat were auto bids, champions of MPSF regular season, effectively, or guaranteed the at-large to the NC2A. So the reasoning was, from my understanding, how I read this, is that Pacific showed they could beat good teams. That's why that factors in the fact that Cal has beaten USC twice already this year. It's kind of like fight on, but twice already this year, right?
Subliminal.
Okay. So if Cal can somehow find a way to beat Stanford or UCLA and finish ahead of Stanford in the MPSF tournament, they are still in. Those 2 wins. That's why the regular season really does matter. Okay? Stanford needs to finish ahead of Cal. So that's what it boils down to. Who finishes ahead?
Yeah, and they both got poor matchups from what we've seen so far of Cal versus UCLA
Yeah.
and Stanford versus SC. So
Yeah.
then it becomes a head-to-head. That's a bit of poor matchup for Cal.
It's been a bad matchup for Cal. So Cal has to, like, in my mind, Cal's got to beat UCLA. Because if they match up again a third time with Stanford, it's either going to be a brawl, okay, or Stanford's going to run.
I'll watch that.
It could be, or Stanford's going to run away with it. I mean, Stanford, dude, they dominated last weekend.
Yeah, and we say that it's tough to beat a team three times in a season.
It's really hard. It'll be at Stanford, so they'll have some home cooking. It'll be a home crowd. You wish the best for every team. You want it to be a fair fight. You want these guys to come out, play their absolute best. I always felt, I know that like my last match, the rules were very different, but I drew 13 exclusions on drives as a perimeter player. Because remember, I was fast. So
remember, everyone, he used to be fast.
He used to be fast. So I drew 13 exclusions, and we lost like 13-12 or 12-11. Obviously, we didn't do very well on those exclusions, on those man-ups. And I remember playing like, okay, I played the best that I could, and I felt okay about that loss. Like, not that I liked losing ever, but when you come out of the pool and you're like, dude, I gave everything I had, it feels very different. You get beat. You have to own that. You get beat. Yeah. Sometimes you got to own that, right? I don't think Cal feels like they've played their best yet against Stanford. So I think they're looking at this like, we can do better. Stanford has been amazing, and they have been playing great. Georgie has gotten so good at his quick release.
Yeah.
Botan is leading the charge, which doesn't surprise us. We've known about Botan since really last spring. And of course, we saw him this summer. Ben Four has stepped up in a big way for them. Ryan Ohl had 3 goals against Cal this last weekend. He had 1 goal in MPSF going into the weekend, 3 against Cal. Mm-hmm. They're starting to fire, man. Like, this is a good team. They're coming together. They've been galvanized by adversity. They're playing well together. It's a good team. I don't think Cal has played their best yet because I think they're still figuring things out. It's kind of getting too late for that. They're going to have to bring it. I still think they've got a better shot of beating UCLA than they do Stanford because Stanford just kind of owns them in their head a little bit, and Stanford's at home. So, like, UCLA may be susceptible to Cal here if they train right through, they don't taper. There's so many variables here. There's like, we'll see. So, exciting. I could go all day. I mean, it's been a great year for these guys. Good conference matchups. I like that MPSF still somewhat matters. Doesn't always matter. The tournament doesn't always matter. It kind of matters now. It does for 2 teams at least. It matters for all 4, I guess, for seeding purposes, NC2A seeding purposes. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Cool. Any closing thoughts before we jump to our interview with Coach Kirk Everist? And boy, do we have some questions for this guy.
No, that's it. Let's roll in.
All right, let's go. Right after this, we'll be back with a great interview with Coach Kirk Everist. All right, welcome back, everyone. We've got Dom Brown and Coach Kirk Everist, both of the Cal Bears, heading into the MPSF conference. Really starting tomorrow. You guys are, there's four Division I teams in the MPSF. Obviously, you had your D3 kind of warm up, tune up games today. I want to get straight to it, guys, and I'll soften up the questions a little bit later. But it's win or go home for you right now, and you've got a tough matchup with UCLA, the current number 1 team in the country. Talk to us about the approach going into this weekend, kind of where your head's at, and what hey, how do you come out ahead here?
Well, I mean, I think it's consistency. We've struggled a little bit with getting, 4. We haven't put 4 quarters together, I don't think, all year. Even in our couple wins against SC, we've had really great moments, and then struggled a little bit. We're able to come out with a couple wins there. First time we played UCLA, we had 2.5, 3 quarters of really good water polo, and then fourth quarter was a bit of a struggle. And so we're looking to finally put together 4 quarters. It's like you said, it's a win or go home. We've got to get at least one win strategically in the right place would be great, and then we we put it. If we can get to the final, then obviously if you win a game, you're in.
Yeah.
But we've got to get one win to give ourselves a chance, and to have an opportunity to move on.
Yeah. And Dom, this is going to be your first MPSF tournament, coming over from Santa Barbara last year. And look, there's a lot of guys, as I go through your stats here, there's a lot of guys who are in their first MPSF tournament, Kirk. You've got Besso, Kai, Tomas, Chase Wilson, Dom Brown. These are top players for you, arguably, 6 of your top 10 guys, all in their first MPSF tournament. Dom, how do you approach this? Is it different for you than the WCC? Or I'm sorry, you were Big West. Sorry about that. Than going into a Big West tournament, or is it pretty standard for us?
I feel like it's different, but still a little similar. In the Big West, it was still win or go home for us. So I'm used to that. But I feel like like we've seen this team 3 times already this year. You don't see teams 3 times a year in the Big West, usually at least conference opponents. So I feel like we know what we're going to see, and like Coach said, we just haven't really been able to put 4 quarters against them. We've had good starts, we've had good moments, but we've had too many just poor moments to be able to hold on for the win. So I would say it's definitely different in the way that kind of just the level, but it's similar in the way that you have to win or go home.
For sure, right? Like I guess there's actually more similarity for you this year than maybe not, where you've already qualified going into your tournament, which is what has happened in the past. It's a fairly new team for you, though, Coach Everist. You do have a lot of new faces. How do you get guys to gel now that you're at the very end of the season here, 2 games remaining unless you qualify? What's the message you give your team going into your first game against UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, as Don said, we've seen them a number of times this year, and we've had success against them. Just not the ultimate success, but I think we've shown that we can play with them. But it's consistency. They're able to find a way in key moments, whether it's Ben getting a great live time entry in for a penalty shot at a critical moment, or Ryder doing Ryder. And so those are things that you're always going to have to deal with. But we know that we can put them under pressure, and we have to go out and do that. Like I said, it's the consistency has been a struggle. I think on last Friday was the first day, as I got a text from my trainer. It said, this is the first day all year where there's nobody on your team that has any restrictions. So that's November, 15th of the year. Congratulations. You have one day where nobody is under some sort of a restriction.
Yeah. The first game of the
that's
year.
Nice. The Stanford was the first game of the year, the day after the first practice of the year, that we didn't have anybody that was either out or restricted or limited or whatever. That is what it is. That sometimes your seasons go that way. Sometimes you have a little bit of bad luck. Everybody's got something. I don't know what every other team's going through, so I'm assuming they all go through aches and pains and stuff like that. And so it's no different. It's a hard season. We play a lot of hard games and guys get banged up. But we've got to try to put it together. And we've got to, step up our game just a little bit, to get ourselves into that fourth quarter, in a position to make some plays. And I think if we do, we've got players that can make plays.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going with this, is that you've got so many players. Is it challenging to find are you ever going to restrict? I saw Luke Bockler in the first quarter against Stanford. I hadn't seen much of him all year. I know he transferred with Dom from Santa Barbara, He's getting minutes in in that first quarter. That was a little different. Is it hard? Have you found a group that you're comfortable with to say, this is our group, this is what we're going to do? Or are you still playing everybody?
No, I mean, I think I have that idea, but again, when there's multiple people that are out for one reason or the other, the minute you think you're going to get a rhythm, you got a tragic whittling accident that takes a guy out for
Whittling. Are
3
many of your
weeks.
players whittling these days?
There's a couple.
Yeah,
You'd be shocked. Yeah,
making
and
some shit. Man.
not great at it apparently.
Yeah,
So so that's a thing. But so I think right when you get to the point where you think, okay, we can pare this down a little bit and get some continuity. One guy goes down, and then you're moving people from one side of the pool to the other, and it continues to putter along.
yeah,
So I'm hoping that this weekend I can get down to 11, 12 guys that can and run them and have guys that have specific skills that can come in and give us a couple minutes here or there. But key guys, centers go in and out. But guys like Besso and guys like Perone, they can play a lot of minutes.
yeah.
And so I think they're finally back to being fit and ready to go. And like you said, it's win or go home. So we got to play some guys, and they certainly can play, a lot of minutes in a game and not be, and not die at the end. So
Yeah. Lean on the guys. We know Perone can do it. We know Besso can do it. We've seen it live a number of times in world championships and professional matches and whatever else. Dom, I'm curious, right? You're coming into this team. You're now wrapping up, last couple of weeks here for your first season at Cal. What has it been like for you to make this transition and all the new players that you're kind of getting comfortable with? A lot of foreigners, some world-class athletes.
In the beginning, it was like, I would say it's been good the whole time, but in the beginning, it was just a bit of a struggle because I hadn't played with anybody, and being
Sure.
a center, like, you kind of need that connection with some players. But as time has gone on, I've just built bonds with a lot of guys on this team in and out of the water. And I think, like, recently, last couple of weeks, last month, I would say it started to show more in the water. Like, I have some guys who are always looking to give me the ball, and they can tell when I'm ready and things like that just take time to build, to be honest. But for me, it's been an amazing experience. I mean, like you said, we have some incredible players on this team. I think we also have some incredible human beings, and I'm just super grateful to be able to compete at such a high level every day and just work towards greatness with a great group of guys.
Yeah, you've had a heck of a season. I've got you down at 28 goals, 36 strong exclusions, shooting 68%. Pretty unbelievable for your for your first run through the MPSF and playing at Cal. To come in and have that kind of impact your first year is really remarkable. Kirk, talk to me about what the hardest thing about this year has been for you.
I think getting that consistency and getting to know so many new players. Whether they're freshmen that are making impacts, we've got a lot of first year guys, and then the transfer situation with Dom and Chase, Luke. Getting that just my confidence with everybody and getting to know what they can and can't do, and then understanding that sometimes with young players, no matter how experienced they are, they're going to go through the growing pains, and it's very hard to get all those young guys all playing really well on the same day. You get, really good, okay, terrible, and then it flips the next game. And so it's hard to tell. Their confidence goes in and out a little bit. And so trying to get them to just play, I feel like there's been times this year of late that I feel like we look tight and hesitant, and at some point you've got to just trust it and feel it and play, and trust the week of preparation, and then react to the situation and let the chips fall where they may. But I felt like sometimes we seem to be not leaning into it as much as I would like, and so I'm hoping that can come together in a heartbeat with a team that has this kind of talent. if they get that win behind them, I think they really can do some great things in a very short period of time and become a major problem. It's just a matter of keeping them positive, understanding that this world, you take a few losses in a row and your confidence starts to wane, but understand that you're in a decent position. You just got to go and win win a game, like I said, in the right position, and now you got another chance.
So
that's the reality of our sport. So
yeah, well, the reality of it this year certainly that you really feel like if you beat UCLA and Stanford doesn't beat USC, you're in for the at large, or if you both lose and then you beat Stanford, you're in, or if you both win and you beat Stanford, you're in, is what it sounds like.
Well, I mean, if we both win and we beat Stanford, then we won the tournament. So there's that.
Right.
There's that. If we end up ahead of them, then it becomes you're in a meeting room with a bunch of people, and different people are going to have different situations. But we have a case that there's that. We would have by default we would have a win over UCLA, 2 wins over SC. And depending on who we played in the final, if we played them in the final and they beat us and they're 3-0, we're in trouble.
Well, if they play in the final and they beat you, then
they're in and we're in trouble.
Yeah,
so
you're in
then,
trouble.
Right. You have a winning record against SC in that situation by default, but they have a win over, who knows? But that's a conversation, again, if we were to, if we're to beat UCLA and lose to Stanford in the final, we have a winning record against SC and we have a win over UCLA. So our argument against SC is pretty good too in that situation.
Yeah.
So that's why this can all turn around. I mean, I've been doing this. I'm old, so I can remember.
And we appreciate that. We appreciate your wisdom.
And it is late. It's 8:00.
It's 8:00. You're exhausted.
100%.
You didn't get your afternoon nap. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. Go on. But I've seen a UCLA team going in back when we only had 2 teams go, but consensus number 1, ran through the season, maybe had 1 loss, lost 2 games on the last weekend, was out. That was just the way it went because it was so tight. So it can, you can have all these great things happen, and then in 2 days you take two losses in this tournament, and that resume doesn't look quite as good as it did last Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough road. Nobody has lost to anybody outside, so there's not that bad loss to anybody outside of the top 4, right? Or what the perceived bad loss.
I don't like if you had lost to Fordham, I don't know if that's a bad loss. If you
it's not a bad loss, but it's a loss. It's a loss outside our world. So it's a risk for Stanford and us to have played them. And in the past it's been, the UOP, or it's been Long Beach, or it's, and we didn't play Long Beach. SC UCLA did. Those are games that you could lose if you don't, have the right mentality. The balls don't bounce your way. You get into a crazy game. Some guy from Long Beach goes for 8 or 9. A couple 3 years ago, we ended up with, in a game with Rafa going for, I think, 9 goals or 8 goals in a sudden death game at Long Beach, and it was like, just get me out of here. But we scored 1 more, but he was on fire. And so you get into those, but nobody has those. So there's not that thing to point to at the end. You lost a game outside the top 4. So we're all in the same boat, and whoever goes 0-2 or on the weekend in that semifinal, that could be a problem. Save probably UCLA right now. I mean, UCLA could probably get 4th and be fine. Because they only have 1 loss right now.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have a losing record against anybody, no matter what they do. But all of us could have.
That may not be true. Not true. If they lose to USC,
they're 1-1. They could end up in say a 3rd place game and lose to them and be 1-2. Yeah. But they'd have a 3-0 or a 3-1 record by default again against
You guys in Stanford,
or 3-1 and 3-1. No, because if they lost to us, they'd end up in the third place game. If they don't play Stanford, they got a 3-0 against Stanford and a 3-1 at worst against us, right? So that's going to be hard to jump them. But the rest of us, if the deck gets shuffled in a certain way, you might not look that great. And so right now, SC is in a great spot, but that can turn in a heartbeat, and we're not, and that can turn in a heartbeat. And Stanford's kind of in the middle, or the same. And we both have 2 wins in our grouping of 4.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, there's all these combinations and permutations of outcomes, and we'll just settle in the pool.
that's how that's why you play the games,
it's supposed
right?
to be done. Dom, yeah. I'm kind of curious, who has been the toughest team for you think, to play against? Or maybe let me not. I don't want to take the negative attack here. Negative tack. What team are you looking forward to most to play against
this weekend?
Sure.
It's always fun playing UCLA SC. You know, I think we've had 2 great games with SC, and I probably remember them like that because we won. But I don't know. It's always fun going to battle with UCLA too. I mean, you kind of know the identity they have. It's always tough. It's difficult. SC just has some absolute studs, and you know they play a really high level, like impressive style of water polo. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to that first game. Obviously, hopefully, I just really hope we can get that win, because then once we get ourselves into the championship game, then anything can happen, as Coach said.
Yeah. Who's your favorite teammate thus far that you enjoy? You kind of get along with. Who's your guy on the team right now? It's okay. Nobody's gonna be offended here.
Oh, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
I know everybody wants to be your friend, Dom. I hear you.
I would probably say Patrick Kolak.
All right.
We kind of hit it off when I first got here, and now we kind of have that connection in the water too. But obviously, I've known Luke for a while just because we came from the same place. But I would say I'm friends or pretty good friends with pretty much everybody. You know, our team kind of, everybody likes everybody. We don't really have any problems or anything like that. So everybody's super nice.
Yeah, I mean that's the way Kirk runs his ship, right? Everybody love everybody, so that's normal to hear from a Cal-based team. Kirk, you got a lot of seniors. You got Will Kelly, you got Pomferrata, Merkovich, you've got Satmari, Bende Party. You know, final MPSF tournament for those guys going into this. Is it different for them? You know, have you talked to them about it? Do they care? I mean, are they just amped up to play? What's the mentality for these guys going into their final MPSF tournament?
I think it's always a little different. You know, it's their last collegiate game. Some of them, you know, how much are they going to play afterwards? TBD. So there's a stress involved in that last weekend, you know, championship weekends of seasons as you get into to November, December. Stress level starts to go up from an athletic standpoint. They're also dealing with life, you know, like what am I going to do after college and jobs and if I'm playing again or not. And, you know, so there's a little bit of that you have to factor into it and try to make sure that you're communicating with them about, you know, the focus they need, but also understanding that there is a, you know, reality coming down the tunnel. Some of them have one more semester to kind of ease into that. Some of them, like Bende, will be gone. You know, he's done at the end of the semester, so you know, he's got to figure out what he's doing, and so that's a life stress that comes into it. But I think they're all excited to get out there and play, and they all have had great success in tournament play, whether it's, you know, at the NC2A level with Kelly and Ponfe and Nick and Marzi, or conference, you know, tournament play with Bende when he was younger at San Jose State. He had some great performances down there. So I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing them go out there and battle and try to channel those great moments that they've had in the past and the experience that they have that, you know, very few players have. You know, there's only, you know, those guys and the guys at UCLA are the only guys that have hoisted that trophy at the end of a year that are in this tournament. So, you know, I'm hoping that experience can pay off for us.
Yeah, I mean, Pomferrata, I mean, those guys have two 2 NC2A titles.
They
right?
have 2 NC2A championships and big, Marty's big goals, Pomfe's big
Yeah.
goals, Nicola big moments in championship games. So they know they can perform at the highest level at the most high stress moments.
Mhm.
They can do it. They've done it before. They've proven it. And my hope is that they can kind of put the rest of these guys on their back and show them the way, and the other guys will have their moments now, given the opportunity to step up.
Something I wanted to call out, watching UCLA play Stanford down at UCLA, watching them play USC this last weekend. In both games, it seemed to be the end of the game. There seemed to be a play that caused controversy, and both result in a 5-meter for UCLA. They're running a play; it ends up being a 5-meter. I hear a lot of stuff from the players that are on the other side of that going, it shouldn't be a 5-meter, whatever it may be. Have you guys looked at the film on how to combat whatever it is they're doing late in games that gives them this edge, gets them that 5-meter, whatever play that they're running? Is that something you've taken into account?
I mean, I think you look at tendencies. I mean, they have a good, they design things pretty well to get a quick live entry into the center position, who hopefully has, and if you look at a lot of them, it's almost like a blind pass that they are, the ball hits my hand, I'm throwing it up to that area,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
If you're not there, then you got trouble. So the defenders have to really work on not allowing, it's not that simple, but it's really hard to defend. You know where they're going.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's coming from one wing or the other in,
Yeah.
and if you take all of that away, then, maybe Ryder or somebody else has a shot up top. So it's not, but the penalty shots come from, those quick entries from the wings, that are, designed, and the center is supposed to get this position and the ball's supposed to go up. So you got to really work to not get stuck behind the guy in a position where you really have no place, no help can help you, because the ball lands inside and all the help's coming, towards
From
your
behind.
back.
Yeah.
Again, easier said than done. But we've had some success at bottling those things up and trying to stop them. We do have I think a really good set of 2-meter defenders that physically can push people around a little bit. So hopefully, if we get into that situation, we can jump that side a little bit. Either get a steal or at least force it to be ordinary, or allow our help to bottle it up, or force them to shoot. Have them go to plan B is always the key.
Yeah.
Can you get them off rhythm? Can you get them off cycle a little bit? And then then somebody else has to make a play.
Yeah.
If we can get them offline a little bit on that and not let them get their number one option, then you take your chances the rest of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they do a nice job designing these plays. It seems there's always controversy. Everybody has a different opinion of a call or whatever it is, but they are getting the ball inside, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out throughout your game, because they do run quite a few sets, if you will. Dom, talk
and they've got good players.
Well, yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good players.
Yeah, they do, and
they got
they're hard to stop in certain positions. But
yeah, for sure. Dom, talk to me about.
We're just going to try our best. Okay, that's what we're going to do out there.
Just give it the old college try.
Give it your college try, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Dom, you're going up against Gray Carson, who, for my money, is probably the best center defender in the country. He's backed up, by Max Matthews. A couple other, Jackson Harlan will get in there, mix it up. Chase Dodd can also defend. How do you approach this where you're going to be going up against the best here, my opinion again, and Gray Carson and that kind of trio, keeping your head about you, when all else are losing theirs, and really being able to assert yourself, hold water, and execute, produce for your team?
Yeah, they got a good group of guards. They got Ben Larson too. They're all,
I don't know how I forgot Ben Larson. That's on me. I love Ben Larson. Thanks for calling that out. That's on me.
With Gray and Ben, they're kind of bigger guys, so you play them a little differently than Max, who's kind of more just like the quick, agile guy who tries to step around, swim around. But I mean, I've played against them multiple times, just throughout the week, trying to focus on the basics, doing things I know I can do, holding the position I want. And then when the ball comes in, just, it's just an adrenaline rush and trying to go from there. But it's definitely a battle every single time. But I mean, it's a battle I enjoy. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not one to shy away. You did great work for our Team USA against Australia, and you've got a chance to play at World Championships. You've got a very bright future, but you're not there yet, right? There's always more to do, always more to grow from. And I think I really admire that about you. There are a lot of guys with your talent that are like, I'm good enough. I've never gotten that impression from you. So good for you, man. We could go all night, and Kirk, we usually do. But I want to give the studio up to you guys, and any messages you have for your team, for anybody out there how to approach an MPSF tournament, whatever that may be. Dom, I'll let you go first. We like to say the studio is yours.
Put me on the spot here.
You know it. You were here before. You got to be ready now.
I just think it's been definitely a really cool season for me in terms of just getting here when I did, kind of 3-4 weeks before the season started, and kind of just lumping myself in with all these guys that I didn't know that I now consider my brothers. So I'm really excited to get one more chance to compete with this team and play for these group of seniors who have done so much for this program, and just hopefully we can make the most of it and give ourselves the best chance possible to keep playing after.
Yeah. Kirk?
Yeah, I think championship tournaments are why we do this, and having the opportunity to go out and fight for a trophy and fight for a championship is the fun part of the season, and battling through ups and downs is a great opportunity for the players, and as a coach, you're constantly battling the ups and downs, and it's because you put your heart and soul into it. You got the whole team kind of, sometimes you feel like it's on you completely. And so that's a weight that you have to deal with. But it sure is fun. As I told these guys on Friday night, it came true on Saturday, is that, that's the beauty of sport, is that in an hour and a half, you're going to feel every emotion possibly that you can in your life. From elation to despair to anger, the whole gamut can go through it. And then at the end, it's a win or a loss. But that's the beauty of sport. That doesn't, you're not feeling that in an Econ 1 class. The sport brings this out. And it's a great opportunity, and you need to enjoy that opportunity to go out and, you're quoting Kipling here. So, that arena is important. Right. And it's a breeding ground for life lessons that they'll learn, and they will go on in the rest of their lives. So they got an opportunity to do great things this weekend. I know they all can do that. And my job is to try to put them in the right position, and then let them go do it, and support them in that quest to try to win a championship and to get to the dreams that they've all set for themselves. And, I find that exciting and fun and nerve-wracking, and all of the above. So I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, it'll be a great weekend. We appreciate you guys taking the time. Good luck. Your game 1 p.m. Saturday against UCLA to start things off in the MPSF Division 1 bracket, if you will, of the MPSF tournament. So thank you both for being here. We really appreciate it. We'll let you guys get back to Econ 1 and all your studies, and staying focused on the tournament, man. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Go Bears.
Yeah, thank you.